Hey there YouTube, welcome to Big Mike Body Wisdom. So today we're going to talk about how well certain diets have worked for me in the past. And for me, I really like maybe like two of them. So I'm not big on calorie counting, but I've always had really good luck with like a high protein, low carb kind of diet. Those get a little weird because it isn't always just eating as much meat as you want. There's a lot of stuff that goes in with vitamins, and then also you need to take some stuff or pee on some stuff in order to see how you're doing to make sure you're not hurting yourself. So real quick, let's go to the computer. I can explain stuff better. All right, so as soon as you search for low carb on Google, it's amazing how much stuff winds up coming up. And there's a whole bunch of things that are kind of related to it. And I'm sure there's tons of diets and versions of the diets. The one that I'm most familiar with is essentially the Atkins diet. And I got into this when my mom got the book that Dr. Atkins had written years ago describing the diet. So we're talking pre-2000. And the book was actually really interesting because they had a lot of examples. A lot of it was people that were like severely overweight. So like 300, 400, 500 pounds kind of overweight, where they were eating, 3 or 4 large pizzas a day. So it was a tremendous amount of food they were intaking. So as you can see, the Atkins website has quite a lot of information on it. And a lot of the stuff that I remember is basically stuff from the book. So there was a lot of good info. Like essentially, once your body goes into ketosis, it shifts from burning carbohydrates as its primary fuel into burning fats. Proteins are one of the last fuels that it'll burn. So essentially, whenever you start losing weight, it'll be burning more fat than muscle. So sometimes when you do like a counting calorie kind of diet, there's a certain percentage of weight that you'll lose that's truly fat that you're losing, and a certain percentage of weight that you're losing that's a little bit of muscle. So I really like this style of diet. There's a lot of good information on here, and I'm sure tons of other companies have come up with it. Because as soon as you type in keto diets now, there's a whole bunch of stuff for that too, just like low carb. Now it can be kind of dangerous just because a lot of times it is generally misunderstood. And basically what I held up before was like a pea keto strip. And the big thing with ketones is that for me, ketones are kind of related to gout. And it's one of those things where this diet works great for me, but I kind of put myself into a little bit of a risk of having a gout flare because of what happens with the body's processing. One of the bigger reasons that you want to have those pea strips is you want to gauge how far in you go. So the nice thing about the Atkins book that we had, it kind of explained how far you want to go in and how far you don't want to go in, because going in too far can increase the potential issues you could have. So this looks like something off of Healthline. And this is them breaking into like what are the 7 keto diet dangers to know about. The first one they have here is the keto flu. And it's basically as your body's depleting its stores of carbs, you could start getting a little bit of like a flu-like symptoms. And for me, the first one they list here, headaches, is a big one. The headaches almost stays with me the entire time. So it's almost like I have a light, headache to, not really full-on dizziness, but just, you feel not quite right. Some of my buddies have gotten really bad headaches with it, and then went, nope, I'm done. That's why, like in here, it says it's important to monitor the symptoms throughout the diet, stay hydrated, and eat foods rich in sodium, potassium, and other electrolytes. It's one of those things where you don't just jump into the diet and make it up as you go. You kind of need to do a little bit of research. I would look at a whole bunch of different sources because it seems like a lot of information's kind of changed over time. But it's one of those things where I know if I'm going to do it, I know that I want to drop so many pounds, and that at least for me, normally I can drop 10 in a week for the first week. The second week, maybe I'll just drop maybe like 3 or 4 additional, but I'll continue to drop 4 to 5 pounds some of the weeks after, unless I'm screwing up. And it doesn't stay at that high rate the entire time. Eventually it starts to plateau, and then you won't lose anything for a while. That for me, is a good time to break the diet. And then that'll knock you back out of ketosis. And then when you go back into it, sometimes it's like kickstarting it in. It won't be like full on starting over where you lose the full 10 again that first week. You'll just, restart your losses. So instead of being at that plateau for a couple weeks going, oh man, nothing's happening, I miss bread. You're able to get your bread fix maybe for a day, knock yourself out of ketosis, then go back into it and go back to losing, 2, 3, 4 pounds a week. But again, it depends on how much weight you have to lose. So for me, as a big guy, I got plenty to lose. If you're a smaller person, I would expect much lower gains or losses. Then this here is a big one, so it may lead to nutrient deficiencies. So the whole time you're doing it, you need to still make sure that you're taking vitamins and minerals and making sure you're taking enough stuff, and especially like calcium. So you'd be taking like maybe calcium supplements. You also want to take like fish oils, because the fish oils will help keep you lubed up inside and help prevent like constipation type symptoms, which I think it had listed up here, where it may stress your kidneys. This is a big one where you want to pee on those strips to make sure you're not going too far into ketosis, because as you go too far into ketosis, that's where this gets worse. This one here, it's kind of interesting. So it says may cause dangerously low blood sugar. I don't know. And it mentions, if you've got type 1 diabetes, you can experience low blood sugar if you're taking too much insulin and not consuming enough carbs. So it's going to be one of those things where before you just jump into a diet, it's definitely makes a lot of sense when people say, hey, consult a doctor first. Because maybe a doctor will be like, well, wait a minute, you have diabetes, this isn't the best diet for you. Or you've got this other underlying condition, maybe this isn't a good one. We recommend doing this, doing that. So definitely look into talking to a doctor about it before you jump into like a low carb, high protein, high fat kind of diet. It's one of those things where you don't know where it's going to go. And for you, it may not be best. For someone else, they might be perfectly fine. Definitely do some research on it. See if it might be something good for you. I know it works really good for me, but I've also done it a while and I've done a lot of research into it. So I know what I can and cannot do. I know that I need to monitor where I'm at as far as ketosis goes. But you can see there's a lot of information out there about low carb dieting. Some of it is probably 100% true. Some of it might be 100% false. So don't just go to one site, take their word for it, and run away. Make sure that you hit a couple that way it makes sense, and see if it's something that you want to do. Because I guarantee you, at some point in time, you're going to look at stuff like this like it's porn. That's the worst thing for me. I miss bread so much when I'm on that diet. Not so much sweets, not so much cake. I just miss bread and croutons in my salads. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to like and subscribe. I'll check you next time.